Hey everyone, welcome to another stash video. This time we're not going to be talking about an update, but instead we're going to do my top 20 films of all time. These are not necessarily the best films, but these are definitely films that I could watch over and over and over again. First off, we're going to talk about is Heat. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, in a film since The Godfather Part 2. This is an amazing film. Michael Mann did an amazing job. It's completely awesome. It's like one of the best heist movies I've ever seen in my life. Very entertaining. I can definitely watch this over and over again. One of my favorites. Next thing I got here is Inglorious Bastards. When I first saw this in theaters, I was so I don't know how to even explain, but there's a huge smile on my face from ear to ear, and absolutely love this film. It's a solid 10. If you guys love Tarantino and his style, you'll definitely love this. It's one of my favorites. Next thing here, we got Pulp Fiction. It's one of my favorite films. I saw this when I was little, and ever since then, you know, it's one of those films that if it's on TV, you just leave it on there and you can quote the whole movie and stuff. It's just so good. I mean, there's so many great lines, especially the Sam Jackson parts, and one of my favorite probably one of my favorite Tarantino films. Next thing I got, which I just saw yesterday because I love it so much, is Black Hawk Down. It's one of my favorite films of all time. I mean, from what I hear, this is the most realistic war film out there. So it's definitely, it's gritty, it's amazing, done by the amazing Ridley Scott, and definitely one of my favorite films of all time. Next thing I got was Saving Private Ryan. Of course, this is going to be on my top 10 or top 20. This is just an amazing film. Steven Spielberg has done amazing things, from adventure movies to very serious dramas and war films like this. And also Munich. I mean, that's another great film too. But Saving Private Ryan is one of my favorite films. And I don't even like Tom Hanks all that much, because I always think he's a joke, but in this film he's so amazing in this film. But I mean, I'm not saying that Tom Hanks is a joke, but sometimes he's just always really quirky and weird, and so I don't really like that all the time. Next thing I got here was Troy. At first, when I first saw this film, I didn't like it so much, but then after I saw it a couple more times, I actually really started to love it. I love the whole Greek and Roman era, and so Troy, for me, is one of my favorite films. Even though I'm not a big fan of you know, Brad Pitt or anything, but just the whole thing just sucks you into that time, and I love it. So it's one of my favorites. Next thing I got, this is completely a nostalgic film for me. I used to see this all the time when I was a kid, and I used to borrow it from my uncle and aunt. It was Ghostbusters, of course. This has so many awesome memories for me, even though I didn't exactly get to see it, you know, in the theater or anything. But it's definitely one of those films that has repeated viewing all the time. One of my favorites. I mean, it's just awesome. Next thing I got was a film that I first saw in my college, my freshman year of college, and that's Central Station. This film is incredible. It's in Portuguese, the language, I mean, but the whole thing takes place in Brazil. It's one of the most incredible stories I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's so good. Very few movies can make me cry. This one definitely made me weep like a little girl. The next thing I got was The Dark Knight. I wasn't really sure if I should put this in my top 20 because I'm a little biased. Of course, I love Batman, but also looking at it as a film, if it's just like an awesome gangster movie, and it's one of my favorites. Got, you know, Batman. I can't wait for the new one to come out. It's gonna be incredible. So The Dark Knight. The next thing I got was Rocky, and specifically I'm talking about part 1. But also, when I was a kid, my favorite Rocky was part 4. And part 4 was just like little against the big guy, and Rocky versus the Russian. Awesome. Rewatching it now as an adult, part 1 is incredible. I mean, that's just a true underdog story. And even Rocky Balboa, that's an incredible film too. Man, no, this definitely has a place in my heart, nostalgic wise, and just they're amazing films. Even if you don't like Sylvester Stallone, that's an incredible film. The next thing I got here is Schindler's List, which is one of my favorite films of all time, of course. It's incredibly sad, and just it's beautiful to look at. Just the cinematography alone, black and white, but also just having, you know, like that Pleasantville effect where the little girl's coat is in red. But it's so symbolic, and it's so well made. It's hard to believe that the same year this came out, Jurassic Park also came out. So going from a summer blockbuster film to something like this is just, my goodness, it's incredible. Only Steven Spielberg can do something like that. But incredibly sad and beautiful film. The next thing I got, of course, is The Goonies. And I love The Goonies. This is another nostalgic film for me. Watched this as a kid. Absolutely loved it. You know, Richard Donner made this film, and if you don't know Richard Donner, he was also the director of the original Superman movie. And he was making part 2, but I don't know what happened there. But if you ever watched The Goonies, you know that Chunk, and I mean Sloth, takes off his shirt and he's wearing a Superman shirt. So it's kind of like his little put into that. I love that. But Goonies was one of my favorite films of all time growing up. So it's got a place in my heart for sure. Next thing I got was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. This is an incredible film. You know, Michel Gondry is an incredible filmmaker and very intuitive. Just look at any of his work. He's so creative with the camera that a lot of the special effects aren't computer animated or anything. It's all practical, and it inspires me just to go out there and be more creative with myself. So that's why it's one of my favorite films. The next thing I got was Amores Perros, which is an incredible film. He's the Inarritu, Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu. It's a hard name to say, even for me. But he's the one that directed Babel and 21 Grams, and can't remember if he did. Oh, Beautiful. Yeah, he's an incredible director. Completely character-driven stories. These are amazing. Check it out if you've never seen this. I mean, and it's in Spanish, but it's incredible. It's just so awesome. Check it out. Next thing I got was Gladiator. As soon as I saw this for the first time, I fell in love. I don't even like Russell Crowe that much, and I love this movie. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Just everything about it was amazing. Next thing I got was Garden State. It's so many things came out of this film for me. Like the music was amazing, the intuitiveness of Zach Braff, the quirkiness of of Natalie Portman. I loved every single minute of this movie. And they need to release it on Blu-ray already, because it's one of my favorite films, and I can watch this over and over and over again. Another film I got here is Apocalypse Now. Now this is an incredible film. I mean, if you really want to go read into this film, it's this whole journey into the mindset of a man who's gone crazy, and you can look at it as a war film, you can look at it as a psychological film. It's just an incredible film in general. And I mean Francis Ford Coppola almost committed suicide over that movie. It's incredible. Next thing I got was A Bronx Tale. A great story written by Chaz Palminteri, who plays Sonny, and Robert De Niro and Lilo, I forgot this kid's name, but he's in jail now for killing some guy. But it's an incredible movie. I love mob movies, you know that. And so this is one of the best ones out there. And it's so low budget and independent, but it gives it like a charm to it. It's incredible. Next thing I got was a Scorsese classic, Goodfellas. I love Goodfellas. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Goodfellas is incredible. Just the storytelling in this film alone is crazy. I mean, if you've never seen this movie, what are you doing with yourself? Stop watching this video, go watch it, and come back and just tell me how awesome this was. Goodfellas. And my number one pick of all time has to be The Godfather. Part 1 and 2 are incredible. I mean, Part 1 alone stands alone as one of the greatest films of all time. Part 2 for me it's better than Part 1. I mean, you've got everything in Part 2. You've got the rise and fall of Michael Corleone. You've got the rise of Vito Corleone. And Robert De Niro as Vito Corleone is one of the best casting decisions ever made in the history of cinema. It's incredible. This film has everything in it. I mean, Part 1, Part 2, let's forget Part 3 ever happened, but Part 2 is it's probably my favorite film of all time. Part 1 is incredible. Marlon Brando's performance as the Godfather, man, it's haunting. It's incredible. But my God, I don't know. There's a whole video that I've done on the Godfather tribute. You can go watch. And it's got a bunch of views, and people comment on it still to this day, because there's so much debate over Part 1 and Part 2 and how incredible these films are. But this is definitely my favorite movie of all time. And that is it. Thank you guys for watching my top 20 countdown here. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you guys have seen any of these films, please let me know. If you guys have your own top 10 or 20 list, down below in the comments section. Let's discuss about some awesome movies. So until next time, I'll see you guys next time. Okay, bye.